Good morning.
And good evening, beautiful people. Deon, it's so great to hear your voice again and to see you, man. We
We
back and we
back.
better, you know what
We
I'm
back.
saying? Yeah, another episode of Mose Knows. We got a stacked one for you because it was a big weekend. Of course, Texas orange and white game happened. Everyone's talking about Arch. He looks amazing. But I want to speak about the QB3 on the roster, Trey Owens. We're going to be talking to 24/7 sports reporter Eric Henry later on in the show to describe and break down what we saw from that quarterback room, and of course also the wide receivers that stepped up. But also, Deon, this weekend Texas baseball got a dub over TCU, a series win. Coach Pierce got ejected during game 3. He voiced his opinion, ran out on the field, and then went back into the dugout, went back onto the field, went back in the dugout, and went back onto the field for the third time. Finally, the umpire said, F it, you're out of here, buddy. But they still got the dub. So respect to Coach Pierce. And of course, Texas softball continues to dominate. And big time transfer news when it comes to Texas basketball. They were able to pick up a couple recruits from Indiana State over the last couple of weeks. And on the horizon, people are saying Oregon State transfer Jordan Pope and Oklahoma State transfer Brandon Garrison expected to join the 40 Acres as well in the next couple of days. But a lot of things have been happening throughout the week. Deon, though, I want to know what happened in your week this week.
This week was I'm finishing up my cybersecurity course.
Oh.
So I just finished the project. One more project, then I'll be able to make the big bucks like you. So
I'm broke, bro. What are you talking about?
Yeah, all right, buddy. But I'm almost finished. It's been a long 6 months. Oh my gosh, I am so tired of doing this work and having a job I hate. So almost out of there. Also, I mean, the NBA playoffs are going on right now, so I am loving social media right now more than anything because, boy, they are cooking. They are. Some people that are not cooking, Twitter is cooking. Twitter is cooking, y'all. So,
hey, what you think about the first off, LeBron?
Yeah, I just
wide
gotta feel
open
bad
three.
for him.
Should
No.
he have taken that shot?
No. Of course
Okay,
not.
I'm about to say. That's the
course
first
not.
question. Should he have taken the shot? Okay, and then second question, why can't the Lakers beat the Nuggets, bro? Like 10 straight. Denver is
10 straight
LA.
is crazy.
10 straight.
And they're trying to make it a rivalry.
Up
But
by
look,
20 points.
But look, bro, what's his name? Malone said it, bro. They're their daddy. Like he said it. He predicted it. He said it. Yo, we're their
Did
daddy.
you like the mic drop after the game with Anthony Davis? Did that rile you up at all?
I don't get what the reporter was wanting him to say. Like, you watched the play. It wasn't like a secret
Okay, but
play.
we gotta ask it though.
It's a pick and roll.
We have to ask it.
I mean, kind of. What did you see there on that last play? It's a pick and roll, bro. He made the shot. What do you want him to say?
You know what? Hey,
he had a great game.
Since we're here, can we play the clip of the reporter asking the question, and then we'll come back and I'll explain my side of things when it comes to asking this type of question.
Got you.
To kind of piggyback off that one, can you take us through that last play and just what happened and what unfolded? What was, I don't know if you were screened or what happened on that last play.
Jamal Murray made a shot.
Now look, him fumbling over his words, that doesn't help, right? Like he has to know exactly what he's going to say. You got to premeditate it. And I think the question was just too long. I think what the reporter should have asked, and this is what I do from time to time, just straight up say, what do you see on that last play? That's all you got to say. You don't got to try to explain yourself. You got to try to break it down for AD because AD was in the play. Like, he knows he got screened. He knows he got switched on. But, like, you have to ask it, though, Deon, from our perspective, because first off, we got to have a soundbite about the last play. Second off, you want to ask the source who was literally in the play, what did he see? Because maybe we may have saw the play one way and he may have seen it differently. Now, of course, there's nothing else to see except he got the shot made on him. He got the shot made in his eye, but you got to ask it. So I don't hate the question. I just hate the way that it was phrased and how he kind of just fumbled the last part of it. You got to be more confident because now you're just going to piss the player off when you're on a tangent about what just happened. It's like, yeah, duh, I know what just happened. You got to explain it to me. So I think the question just should have been.
I just don't get when you ask anybody a question about the last play, buzzer beater, a walk-off home run, like, What is? There's nothing to say. We all watched it. He made a shot. It's not like it's a call, like it's a foul call or nothing on that source. It's just like, yo, they ran the pick and roll. And look, I think Jamal Murray and Jokic might go down as the best pick and roll players ever in the game. Because I don't think Malone was shooting the three, because dribbling up the court. Like, I think they might go down as the best pick and roll 1 and 2 that we've ever seen. Just because, bro, you can't stop them. You can't.
It's
you can't. Jamal when he's cooking, I mean,
and
barbecue
he wasn't
chicken.
An all-star. Wasn't even an all-star this year. I don't think he's ever been an all-star. Now that I think about it, which is crazy to say because he shows up big every single playoffs, and you just get overshadowed a little bit. So props to Jamal Murray though for accepting the Robin role and not being a prototypical guard diva. He's like, look, I'll play my role. I know I'm the second best player on this team, and that's okay with me. So props to Jamal Murray. But going back to the reporter's question, he got a good answer, technically. He
made the
shot.
Mic drop. Okay, I guess.
I
guess if that's what you're looking for, I guess.
I mean that's viral. It went viral. So I mean, can you blame him? No. I mean, it was a bad question. I just think it was a bad way he phrased it. I think that's what would be the conversation. But there will be no bad phrasing in this next interview with my guy, Eric Henry. Like I mentioned earlier in the pod, we were able to talk to him about the spring game, and we kind of dove in a little bit about the quarterback specifically, how Trey Owens looked, how Arch Manning looked, and how all of that affected Quinn Ewers when it comes to training for the summer and now heading into the fall. Here's 247's Eric Henry. All right, everybody, the man, the myth, the legend is in the building. Eric Henry from 247 Sports. Eric, I know we got to get this done pretty quickly because you have a big show coming up. Can you let the people know what you got on the horizon and what you got going on nowadays?
Oh, man, listen, life is moving fast. Right when I thought the offseason was coming up on me, I got out here 10 months ago, hit the ground running football, basketball season, then spring. I'm thinking I'm going to get a little time to myself, opportunity comes up. So shout out to the good folks at Texas Sports Unfiltered. Brad Kellner is the owner and proprietor of that outlet. And now Monday through Fridays, 12 to 1. I got to get the hours right because I tweeted out the other day it was 11 to 12. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, 12 to 1. Catch me on Texas Sports Unfiltered on YouTube, on Twitter, at Texas Sports Unfiltered. Doing a show. It's called False Start with my man Keenan Womack. And we're just going to be chopping it up, man. It's going to be kind of like similar to this platform, ideally, pretty irreverent. We're going to talk UT sports, but of course, all sports really. We'll get into, the pro sports, boxing, MMA, and anything that's going on. And also just kind of be funny and cool. And I think, we're the youngest ones. Actually, no, shout out to Jordan Scruggs. Jordan Scruggs has a show with Jeff Howe. So Jordan is the young one. He's 22. But outside of that, me and Keenan will be the young ones on that platform. So just and try to be irreverent and have some fun and, gives people a couple laughs and be entertaining.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Hardworking
man. This brother don't never stop, man.
Nah, man. He spends 3 hours in the weight room and then he goes to work, That's how it goes, man. That's how it goes. Well, Eric, thank you so much for taking the time out to hop on the Mose Knows pod with your new show on the horizon. And so just want to recap what happened on Saturday at the Orange-White game. A lot of conversations happening about the dude with the last name of Manning. Everyone's talking about the kid, but let's start off with QB3 because that's who I was really impressed with on the day. Trey Owens, coming out of high school, not a 4-star recruit, not a 5-star recruit. I saw a bunch of 3-stars for Trey, and you were in that press conference with Coach Sark as he kind of spoke his sheesh, what I'm saying? Talking about how, no disrespect to all the guys that make the stars, but we have our own evaluation. And so when they saw Trey Owens, they saw his talent, and we got to see it firsthand on Saturday. What'd you get out of Trey Owens' performance on Saturday?
Really quick, before I get into Trey, it's interesting you led into it the way you did, right? Because it came out the other day that Steve Sarkisian didn't let Drake inside of Moncrief because of, the fact that he had repped some other teams. However, Steve Sarkisian has a little bit of Drake in him. He's probably one of the most Drake-ish, subliminal sneak dissers that and some people on this podcast have been recipients of that shade. I'm not going to say no names, but I digress. That's just a very Steve Sarkisian type move. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just very Sark that he'll be like, no disrespect. but then as soon as you hear that no disrespect, the disrespect.
Always disrespect.
Yeah.
Immediately after.
Immediately after that. That is a Steve Sarkisian trademark right there. But no, he's not wrong. I mean, he has the right to stand on it, because Trey Owens, by a lot of the outlets that do recruiting, and that includes the publication I work for, 24/7 Sports. I know we recently have him as a 4-star. I remember seeing Trey as a 3-star at one point in time, so I don't know when he got that bump, right? But to the point that you're making, Trey was not the most highly heralded in terms of, again, the recruiting services quarterback, right? A 3-star is a guy who is someone who, could land at a G5 school, maybe a high 3-star lands at a Power 5 school, and his ceiling is someone who eventually ends up being a starter, but not the guy who you think day one could come in and have the type of performance that you talked about, Corey. I mean, listen, you see him, and even if it's in the open availability that we have a chance to watch spring practices, he's every bit of 6'5", 235, and he's bigger than Quinn Ewers by far, but probably bigger than Arch, just in terms of his physical stature and size. So he's got everything you're looking for in a quarterback in that sense, and he can spin it. He's got the arm talent, gets the ball downfield, and the big thing, I think, in my mind, my biggest takeaway was this. If there was any question as to whether Texas had the best quarterback room in the nation, I think that's been answered with the fact that you get, of course, Quinn Ewers, and I'm sure we'll talk about Quinn at some point. Arch Manning had a great spring game as well, and then Trey Owens. So this goes to show that the future is really bright. We'll see what happens. You have to assume that this is Quinn Ewers' last year with Texas, and then Arch Manning will step in as a starter, as a redshirt sophomore. We'll see how long he's around. But listen, Steve Sarkisian, his pedigree, and it goes back to his time even at USC. I mean, Carson Palmer, Matt Leinart, Matt Castle, the guy knows quarterback. So he certainly has the right to stand on his business in terms of being a quarterback evaluator.
Yeah, what I liked the most about this whole thing was Trey won the game. I mean, he beat the team that had Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning on it. And so not only did he play well, but he won the actual scrimmage. And so much respect to Trey for that. And the guy that he was throwing the ball to, Ryan Wingo, the other freshman, I mean, he has solidified himself as one of the guys in that wide receiver room, I feel like. And Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you just walk out there and you look at Ryan, you can see, he's built different at just 18 years old, And so what did you see out of that wide receiver room, and specifically Ryan Wingo? And what do you kind of expect for, I guess, day one? Who's going to be on the field? I mean, you got legitimately only 3 spots, but you have a solid 6 or 7 guys fighting for those 3 spots to start. Does Ryan Wingo make that starting lineup, in your opinion?
Corey, you know who he reminds me of, just in terms of his physical build? I mean, he's not a Megatron 6'4", 6'5". He's not a Randy Moss 6'4", 210. But Amari Cooper, right? Like sneakily built, just solid. 6 foot, 6'1", probably about 205, right? 200, 205. But again, he's not a small dude. You know what I mean? Like, he's not a small 6 foot, 200 pound receiver. I mean, he's just built really solid, long arms, excels off the line really well, gets into his route. So that's something to keep an eye on. Now, to your question, as far as where does he fall in the starting lineup? Fellas, that is a question that, only Sark knows the answer to. I'm going to try not to go too long, but it's one of the things that, be quite honest with you, was one of my storylines entering the spring. Okay. If you look at Steve Sarkisian's history at Texas, that wide receiver room, his rotation, really tight. His first 2 years, Xavier Worthy, Casey Kane, Jordan Whittington. You take a look at last year, it's A.D. Mitchell, Jordan Whittington, Xavier Worthy, right? Even Jonte Cook was struggling to really crack that rotation. Steve Sarkisian said at times, like, damn, I was kind of kicking myself for not getting Jonte more playing time. He said that after the Oklahoma game. So one of my storylines, fellas, was entering this spring, you got Jonte Cook, you have Isaiah Bond, you have Matthew Golden. That's 3 right there. 2 of those guys transferred in. So you're assuming that, like, they came here to get playing time. And that's not even including Silas Bolden, who's got 1 year left in his career and is not even here yet, right? So Silas has got to get here in the summer. You're assuming he came here with the assumption, like, I'm going to get playing time. That's 4, right, Corey?
Yeah.
Last time I checked, Texas was not playing a lot of 10 personnel. 1 running back,
Definitely not.
No tight ends, 4 receivers. Sark's base offense is 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end, and that dude likes his tight ends. That's why he brought Amari Niblack here, right, from Alabama, in addition to Gunnar Helm, someone who played a lot last year. So, to your question, does he crack the starting lineup day one? It's hard to see it just because of the numbers game. But Steve Sarkisian was given a raise. He was making $5 million. Now he's making $10 million. It's getting paid a lot of money to figure out how to get these guys on
L'Oreal's outfit's about to go crazy.
Right? So, Corey, I just don't think, and I'm just giving you, my gut feeling here is I think Steve's base is still going to be that 11, and he's still going to find ways to get Gunnar Helm on so that 12 personnel, one running back, 2 tight ends. But he's going to have to open things up and find ways to have more 4 receiver sets on the field, not just in 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, but in other opportunities, right? Like throughout the course of the game, he's going to have to find a way to expand that receiver room. So to your question, does he make the starting lineup day one? I mean, I don't think so. Although he certainly has made his case to be in the starting lineup. But I think they got to find ways to get him and Jonte Cook on the field, to be honest.
Yeah, and you named 4 guys, but I mean, you still got Wingo, that's 5, and then DeAndre Moore, that's 6. And we've been hearing
this is a good problem to have, ain't it?
It's a great problem. It's a great problem to have. Because we've been hearing all spring about DeAndre Moore, and he went out there and caught a touchdown himself. And so, like you said, there's not enough spots to go around. So Sark may have to use a rotation, but that's not what he's been used to doing. He hasn't been having to do that. And so will he make an adjustment with the type of room that he has? We'll see. But man, oh man, it's a good problem to have, like Deon said. But the problem is wide receivers have a little bit of egos, So
exactly.
you want to try to please everybody, but you literally can't. I mean, I think about a guy like Isaiah Nayor, who transferred in here from Wyoming. He had a lot of expectations to be a pivotal piece in the offense. Now, mind you, an injury kind of derailed his career here at UT, but he didn't really see the field that much his first year after transferring in. And so with that being said, I don't know if these transfers are just promised playing time, because there's been examples of people transferring in and then not playing. And so we'll see. I think Sark can literally just play the best guys, because this room isn't just deep. But when they say deep, I mean, it's a very highly talented deep roster. Right. Like a dude like Wingo can go out there and be a freshman All-American, it feels like. A dude like DeAndre Moore has so much speed behind him, and Jordan Whittington even said that's the little mini-me. Of course, everyone talks about X having the mini-me of Jonte, but Jordan Whittington said his mini-me is DeAndre Moore, and so that's much respect, And so, yeah, I'm interested to see what happens, and I'm also interested to see what happens as the backup quarterback continues to make plays. Deon, did you have any questions about Arch and the way that he played this weekend?
Yeah, I was gonna. I mean, it sounded like we're naming all the winners. Would y'all say he's a winner on the day? I mean, I know Corey was going to come in here and off is crazy performance, but I mean, would you say he's a winner of the day? And I mean, I saw some tweets of making it tough on Quinn. So I mean, what are y'all thinking on that part?
Yeah, so Deon, 2 parts to this. One, just to kind of I'm gonna tie it all together with Corey's answer there. Corey, what I think the selling point for some of those young receivers is to be like, look, I'm gonna get at least 1, if not 2 of these guys out of here, the veteran guys out this year. Yeah. Next year you step in and play, but here's the tie-in, Deon. Would I rather transfer and go to insert school and have to worry about who my quarterback is? Mm-hmm. Or I just saw what the future looks like.
Right.
And to me, I think is Steve Sarkisian. That's his ace in the hole, is to be like, listen, you can transfer and you may play the guessing game as far as who the quarterback's going to be, but you just saw a kid who looks like he's making the next step in his development. So was he the winner? I think he was a winner. I mean, listen, Trey Owens, as Corey kind of led with, had a really nice day as well. And I just wrote a piece on horrors247.com as far as, I said it like a spring superlatives piece and talked about who was kind of the fastest riser. I thought Trey Owens took that one, but Arch is right behind him. Corey, I think you were there in the press the other day when Steve Sarkisian said, listen, over the last 10 to 12 days, we kind of challenged Arch to step up in the pocket. He's an athletic dude who, and I think, most people, they hear that last name Manning, they don't think speed with Eli and Peyton, which also side
note, he can move.
Mm-hmm. Side note, fellas, if I was Archie Manning,
right.
Where's the respect, right?
I had 2 boys who slow as hell. Like, how did that happen? Because I could move. Like, I wonder what Archie Manning secretly thinks of his 2 boys, the fact that they slow as molasses. Nevertheless, his grandson obviously got the wheels, right? Mm-hmm. And it was a challenge for him. Steve Sarkisian says a challenge to kind of get him to step up in the pocket vertically as opposed to escaping horizontally, right? Step up vertically, make the throw. It's 2 parts of that. One, as a quarterback for your own health, you only take so many hits. We've seen Quinn Ewers, someone who has not started every game of the season for 2 straight years. So I think, Deon, to your point, as far as a winner, Quinn's bulked up a little bit, and we'll see if he can play every game of the year. But only 67 out of 133 FBS quarterbacks who were eligible to play every game did. Or I shouldn't say eligible, who had the opportunity to play every game. I shouldn't say eligible in a wrong connotation, but you understand what I'm saying. So it's a 50-50 shot, especially given Quinn's injury history, as to whether or not he's going to start every game next year. Arch may need to be available. But to the second point, why I think is important for Sark to kind of preach that to Arch is, he didn't bring all these receivers here to watch the quarterback run and be Michael Vick. they came here to catch passes. So we need you to get the ball out of your hand to these guys, to the playmakers, and let them do the running and scoring.
Facts.
Yeah, I really liked when he stepped up in the pocket and threw that dart to Jaden Blue. I mean, that was a prime example of him doing exactly what you just said, you know. And then also the throw to Isaiah Bond that low-key Bond dropped for the touchdown. Like, I felt that was also another example of him stepping up in the pocket, throwing a dart over the middle, finding Bond. Now, eventually they linked up later in the game, but man, oh man, you got to see what Sark has been preaching all spring. And so even the checkdowns to CJ Baxter, that's growth. Because last scrimmage, last year, Arch, his biggest moments came with his legs.
Right.
He could barely complete a pass last scrimmage. And so now you talk about a dude that passed for over 350 yards in his next scrimmage. That's development. And that's what everyone's been talking about, why Arch stayed, because he's going to be developed at UT. And you got to see a glimpse of it on Saturday. And I'm just so happy that now, hopefully, you know, all the talk outside of Austin gets to simmer down a little bit about him transferring out, because clearly it's working and he's having a great time doing it. And the future is bright, it feels like. And so before I let you go, Eric, of course, we got to talk about the starter, right? Quinn Ewers. I know he's probably a loser for Saturday, right? But at the end of the day, he's still a starter. There's no quarterback competition. There shouldn't be any type of controversy talk, because there's not one. Quinn's the guy. But I bet he would have liked to have a better Saturday, because a pick 6 to Alfred Collins is not the way to start the 2024 season.
Really quick, Corey, before we talk about Quinn Ewers, you mentioned CJ Baxter, and this probably was my favorite moment of the spring game.
Oh, I already know where you're going.
Yeah, you know, for the most part, you know, I think his guys, Steve Sarkisian's team, did a good job of playing real football, but also not, you know, taking your own guys out. Someone forgot to tell CJ Baxter, because Michael Taft got run over on the sideline. I'm sure
you see him trying to grab him too, like grab his leg. Like, come on, bro, just take the L.
Like, yeah,
just take
that was one that you just got to eat. So I had to mention that one really quick. But as far as
and then also before you move on, do you see what Arch did to Taft after Arch did like a little, he scrambled?
Yeah, I did see that.
And kind of punked him a little. I'm like, dang, Taft getting all this smoke, bro. Like, what did Taft do? He's a Christian guy on the team. Like, golly, I thought he was a nice guy.
Not Mookie Taft, man, which also made me wonder when Jade said the man nickname is Mookie. I'm like, that's a black ass nickname for a while.
It is black. No, but I tell you what though, bro, pre-game, I was watching Taft.
Yeah.
Bar for bar, spin Kodak.
Okay.
I know you're gonna respect this. You're the Florida guy. Spin Kodak.
Okay. Corey, we're gonna get to Quinn, but you just answered what I said. I was filling in for Chip Brown on Texas Sports Unfiltered yesterday. And I was with Isaiah Collier, and we were speculating how Michael Taft got the nickname Mookie, right? And I said, like, does he rap or something? Boom, just answered it.
Yes, bro. I mean, bar for bar, pregame, spitting Kodak. I'm like, with the hand movement too. You know what I'm saying? Like, he go with the hammer with the lyrics. I'm like, oh, he really spitting.
So, okay, and especially him being from Westlake and he want to rock with some South Florida rappers, I might have to ask him in an availability, like, hey, give me some bars right here. Like, let's see what you got. Like, I might
got to.
On the spot is crazy.
Might have.
At least be like, what's your favorite Kodak song? Then we can really see if he's really a fan.
Boom.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what? Corey, that's why Mose Knows comes in right there. I'm going to use that. I am going to use that. Being from South Florida, bro. I'm going to use that. Like, hey.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, versatile guy? Like, you know, I need to know because, you know, again, for those of you who are not Kodak Black fans, Versatile is by far the best Kodak Black song. Nevertheless. All right. Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
All right.
Quinn.
No, listen. So in that same spring superlatives piece I said that Quinn was Mr. Unappreciated because in my mind, Quinn Ewers is the most unappreciated player, not only on this team, but in the nation. For the past 2 years, he has to deal with does Arch Manning take his job, but when does Arch Manning take his job? And Quinn Ewers, if you take a look, Cory and Deon, I wrote this in the piece. Had Quinn started every game last year, he would have thrown for over 4,000 yards, would have hit 25 touchdowns. He would have been third in the nation in passing yards and eighth in the nation in completion percentage, 70%. Like, sure.
And correct me if I'm wrong, he would have been the first UT quarterback to pass for over 4,000 yards, right?
I'd have to check that. I'm not sure if Sam Ehlinger got 4,000, but that sounds correct. I'd have to check that. But to your point, he would have had a great year. And there's no reason to believe, you see how the offense, the receivers looked in spring, that he can't be a Heisman candidate. So in my mind, yeah, I mean, there is no reason for this to be a quarterback, quote unquote, controversy. Would you have liked him to hit the deep ball a little bit more last year? Yeah, but guess what? You know, not Isaiah Neyor. Xavier Worthy's not the best deep ball receiver. I mean, I think that's one thing about X. He has the speed, but he's not the greatest 50-50 deep ball receiver, right? So we'll see what happens this year. But no, I mean, no doubt Quinn Ewers is the starter. And, you know, Quinn's personality is one. You know, Cory, you know this.
Yeah.
I'd say he's...
Say it. Go ahead, say it, bro.
No, I'd say he's borderline shy.
Yeah.
Is what I would say. I don't think he minds the fact that that Arch gets shine. But what eats at Quinn inside is, to his spring game performance, he would have liked to, all right, I'm only going to get 2 drives. I would have liked those drives to be better than the way they turned out. And I think what eats at him is when he does what he's supposed to do as a quarterback, it may not get the same shine as other quarterbacks around the nation because of the guy who's behind him.
Right.
I agree. I totally agree. I mean, because at the end of the day, everyone's going to be talking about Arch. I mean, that's just the way it goes. Unfortunately, for a dude like Quinn, who, let's not forget, he was out of high school the most highly rated recruit in a very, very, very long time. And so he was getting a lot of praise out of South Lake Carroll. And then he comes to Texas, still got that praise, but of course didn't have the start that he wanted when his first year playing as a starting quarterback. And then Arch comes in, and it's like, oh, wow. Did you totally forget who I was coming out of high school? I know Arch is pretty good too out of high school, but Don't forget my ratings. Like, I was that guy too. And then you lead a team to the Sugar Bowl. And the moment your backup has a good game, everyone is talking about him. So I totally get you. And of course, the viral picture at the Sugar Bowl with him turning around and looking at all the media people outside of Arch's little camp. Like, that's just not a good look. It's not a great look. But I agree with you. I don't think he cares that much about Arch getting the publicity. I just think he cares about him getting his shine and him getting his respect, because he is the starting quarterback of the University of Texas. And I haven't seen a Texas quarterback get this least amount of exposure, or I guess talked about, in a very long time, because you have a dude behind him whose last name is Manning. But I think it's going to be good for Quinn, because now over the summer, no one's going to be talking about him. They're just going to be talking about Arch the whole time. And so he can grind, he can continue to get better and develop while not having that added pressure, I feel like, because everyone's going to be talking about Arch. So he just stay in the shadows, go work out with Jonte Cook in Dallas, you know, do y'all's little route trees, throw it to each other over the summer, come back and have a sensational season. Now, hypothetical question, I'll let you out of here, Eric.
Yeah.
If Quinn does go out there, throw for over 4,000 passing yards, wins the SEC title, and let's say makes it to the Final Four, but doesn't win it, where does he rank in quarterbacks? Does he surpass a Colt McCoy all time for Texas? Does he surpass a Sam Ehlinger all time in Texas? What will it take for you so that he can be, let's say, number 2 behind Vince Young?
I don't know if he throws for 4,000 yards and they make, you know, the last 4 teams of the playoff. I don't know if he can be above Colt McCoy. Now, in all transparency, you're asking the person who's a non-Texan, right? So, like, it wasn't like I grew up rooted in Texas football. However, I know Colt McCoy, if memory serves me correct, is the all-time winningest quarterback in Texas history. I think he might have been the all-time winningest quarterback in NCAA history at one point. I think that record may have been broken. I think Russell Wilson may have broken that record, if memory serves me correct. So
Crazy.
I don't really can say he passed. And also, Colt led the team to the national title game.
Yeah.
So that is why I'd say probably is number 3. But I think he has to pass Sam Ehlinger if he does that for sure.
Okay. I respect that. So if he wins the title, national title, he passes Colt.
If he wins, then yeah, I think he probably got to, you have to at least put him neck and neck, if not passes Colt McCoy in my mind.
That's fair. This was just a conversation we had in the newsroom the other day, and I just Figured I'd toss you your way too, just because I thought it was an interesting conversation. I mean, because like Quinn does have the stats, but I think the other argument for Colt is that Quinn has all the skill players around him that Colt didn't. I mean, we're talking about dude like Bijan Robinson and dude like Roshan Johnson. About to have 2 first-round wide receivers from last year, and now this year you're gonna have another first-round receiver, and let's say Isaiah Bond. And so Quinn has had a lot of talent around him compared to Colt, who really didn't have that much, or to this pedigree. So pick your poison, you know what I'm saying, about who you like better. But just thought it was a fun question to toss out there. But anyways, I know you got a show to do, right? Your new show. So can you just remind people where they can watch and where they can listen to your new show every day?
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at EricTHenry _ football coverage at horns247.com. The new show, like I said, 12 to 1 Central Time. False Start with Eric Henry and Keenan Womack can be found on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Just go to YouTube. Texas Sports Unfiltered runs live 7 days a week. And also on Twitter at TS Unfiltered.
It's always great having Eric on. I'm so glad that he had on a jacket this time. And so we didn't have to see his biceps.
Yeah. He had the flex on us no more.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate him for being conscious about that. But great interview as always.
He getting more money now, so I'm trying to get like him. So maybe I can get me a coat, get some extra gigs like him.
Some slight. What'd you get from the interview, bro?
I mean, there was a lot of winners on the day. It looks like the young guys. I know we said, Coach, he can play young guys. He tries not to, or he leans more to the older guys. But, I mean, he's going to have some tough decisions to make all year long. But barring no injuries, I mean, he's going to have a lot of guys that he's going to have to try to keep happy to try to keep this team, together in a unit. So I would hate to be him. Like we said, it's a good problem to have guys from top down, new to old that you can count on, that can give you something different. But boy, he's gonna have some tough decisions to make all year long.
I like how you said that, Deon. Yeah, I like how you said that, because you're totally right. I mean, that wide receiver room is ridiculously deep, and so only 3 or maybe 4 guys at certain formations will be on the field. And so he has a solid 6 or 7 guys that is worthy of being on the field. No pun intended to Xavier Worthy. But yeah, I just think that when it comes to keeping the team together, like you mentioned, D, that's going to be a big task for him. But I think him putting Quinn Ewers as the undoubted leader of that locker room helps keeping the team together, because now there is no question at the top. When you have a solidified leader, especially at the quarterback position, everyone just falls in line. And so with him being, I guess, so consistent on saying Quinn Ewers is our guy, there is no quarterback controversy, that deletes any type of question marks of who is the unsung hero or who is the undoubted leader in that locker room. Because now people will have to listen to who coach says is the leader. And so I think that's how he's been able to keep this team together, by being consistent at the quarterback position. And so props to him for being able to build that culture, because now dudes just want to win. And you can feel that in that locker room. You can feel it when we talk to the players. They just want to win. And whether that's with Quinn, whether that's with Arch, whether that's with Trey Owens in a couple of years, that's what all these skill position players, everybody on defense, that's why they came to Texas, is to win a national championship. And so I think with Coach being so confident about who's going to be his QB1 for the past couple of years, not just this season, but even last year when Quinn struggled, Coach never wavered about who's going to be his starting quarterback. I think that helps out a lot with keeping the team together. And so I know one thing that's being kept together right now, or kept a secret all week long, all 2 weeks, all
Wait, before we dive into that, I'm going to ask you really quick, because I know we talked about the winners. Really quick, was there any, I don't want to say losers, but maybe guys that you didn't get to see the most from during the spring game that you were kind of hoping to see more of, or maybe they just didn't perform how you thought they would?
Yeah, that's a great question, D. We talked about that wide receiver room, right? One guy in that room that I felt like was really quiet on Saturday was Matthew Golden, the transfer from U of H, wide receiver. He had a lot of expectations coming in here because he had great speed, great size, great hands, but he didn't get a lot of passes thrown his way. The passes that he did get thrown his way didn't really do much with them. And so that was a guy that I was like, okay, how can he fit into this offense? I didn't really see it that much on Saturday. And so that's a guy that I would like to see kind of as summer comes along and as fall comes along. How does he fit within this recipe of wide receivers right now? Because it's a stacked room and someone's going to have to take a step back. That's just the way it is. And so hopefully, we get an answer early in the year and it doesn't cause any controversy in the middle of the season. But Matthew Golden, I would say, is a guy that I expected to see the ball get thrown to more. But instead, Ryan Wingo was the kid that got a lot of balls thrown his way. So, that would be the guy. Another, I guess, group would be the secondary. No, everyone's talking about the wide receivers, right? Well, they have to beat somebody to get open, and it's the secondary. And so I think there's a lot of questions about that as well. Now, I wouldn't call it a weakness right now for Texas because Jahdae Barron didn't play the scrimmage, and then Malik Muhammad didn't play a lot of snaps in the scrimmage. The guys who kind of got beat was Terrence Brooks and Gavin Holmes, and I know Xavier Filisime, the freshman from Florida, 5-star, he got beat deep on the Ryan Wingo touchdown. So a lot of the young guys, of course, Brooks is a guy that you expect to be a lockdown corner, but he kind of got beat a couple times on Saturday, but everyone got beat. So it's like, well, the whole secondary did. But you don't have your leader in Jahdae Barron out there, which I think affects communication. It's just a big deal when it comes to the secondary. So I don't think it's a scare tactic. I don't think it's something that Texas fans should be freaking out about just yet. I know, of course, last year there were some deep throws. There were some deep completions given up on that side of the ball last year, especially against Oklahoma. But I think they got better throughout the year. And now you have a lot of guys returning. And so, I just think it's just a communication factor with that secondary. A lot of new faces like Andrew Makuba coming in that safety spot. And so they just got to work on their communication. And that just takes time. And so I don't think that should be a worry for Texas fans yet. Until the season gets here and then you start to see the same struggles, then we can start talking about, okay, what's wrong with the secondary? But after a scrimmage, after a spring game, no need to overreact off of that, because I think that just says more about the wide receiver room more than it does the secondary.
Facts. So let's get into this breaking news, man. Breaking news.
Yeah, I know, man. It's so exciting. So just a couple hours ago, I guess I could say 1 hour ago, the Texans released their new jersey because they got a whole new set of clothes in their closet now, Deon. They got a navy blue jersey, a white jersey, the battle red jersey, but then they dropped this new two-tone blue jersey with the new logo of the H. A lot of people are saying it reminds them of the Texas Rangers alternate jersey because they have that Roman numeral type style of fonts. So I like it, Deon. I think I have a couple favorites. I have a couple I'm like, I'm good on that on. So let me just get your take first. What is your favorite jersey for the Houston Texans?
I think I'm gonna go with the red. I like the red. I think that's bold. And I think just from last year, I don't know if it's gonna be the same color red, but I think this depend on the editing. I think these are probably a little bit brighter, so I think that's gonna stand out. I like the red jersey from last season, so that one's definitely gonna be my favorite. Just like it's just something different. It just gives a vibe. It's a vibe. I guess for me, my least favorite. And we were just talking about it. I don't know how they edit these photos. It's supposed to look like it, but the white jerseys, I don't know if the helmet supposed to be black, but it's giving me a Falcons kind of vibe. And maybe this, like we were saying, maybe this is a deep blue.
It's a deep blue.
Okay, it looks black. It looks black in the photos. So we'll see what this looks like. I guess opening day. But that's probably my least favorite just because it's really resemblance of the Falcons for me.
I can see the Falcons. Yeah, I could definitely see the Falcons, D. I know people were saying that before the jerseys got dropped. And I was like, I don't know how they're going to say this looks like the Falcons jerseys. But now seeing them, I could definitely see where people are saying, this looks like Atlanta. But the jersey I don't really mess with, though, is the navy blue jersey, the home jersey. I've never been a fan of having the logo that's on your helmet also on the sleeve. I just think that's too much. I think we need to do something else on the sleeve, and it just needs to be something different, not just put the same logo on the sleeve as well. I've never been a fan of that. I think this is kind of not basic, but basic, like you just put the logo on the sleeve and then you just say Texans across the chest. That reminds me a lot of Atlanta as well, because that's all Atlanta did. They put the logo on the sleeve and then ATL across their chest. And so, yeah, I don't know, of course, what type of restrictions Nike put on Houston when it comes to their jerseys, because of course Nike makes the jerseys for the NFL and they have a certain formula for things, and you can't do certain things here and there. And so I would say those navy blue ones, the home jerseys, they just don't look kind of different, and the only difference I see is the logo on the sleeve, and I hate that. So I will disagree with you though on the white ones. I kind of mess with them. I can see them being in an all white type style. Now I think those look better than having the navy blue pants. I will say that. But if they were to come out with the all white version of it with some white pants on, I think that would look pretty clean. And of course, everyone loves the battle red jerseys. Those jerseys are just, those mugs are so they dripped out, bro. They Houston for real.
That's a vibe.
That's real Houston. And I was low key worried about the helmet though, bro, because the helmet did leak. Shout out to CTESPN, Antonio Brown. What I'm saying? He actually got it right. Low key, he had like a mock draft of all these jerseys, and he looked at AB. Shout out AB for doing some actual journalism.
He breaking the news. Wow. Okay. Jeez.
Yeah. And so when I saw the helmet for the first time, I was like, I'm not really a big fan of just the horn on the side. I thought that looked kind of cheesy a little bit, but now seeing it with the full uniform. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's live, bro. Yeah, that helmet go crazy, bro. So I mess with the all reds for sure. But let's get to this last one though. The new alternate jersey, the little two-tone blue. They're trying to take back what Tennessee stole from them when it comes to the Houston Oilers colors. And I will say this, and I tweeted this out. There's a lot of things going on color-wise with this last jersey, but I love the chaos, right?
Yeah,
I just think
on TV it's gonna look crazy. Yeah,
under the lights.
Yeah,
little prime time. Yeah, bro, the mug gonna look so clean, especially with the blue and the red kind of accenting each other. The light blue, I should say, and the red accenting each other. I think that looks dope. Now I see in the picture that their gloves are that baby blue. I would have probably made the gloves red, just to kind of have a symmetry with all the accessories. But who am I? I don't know anything. Well,
the players the players gonna probably do something crazy with the gloves anyway. So
yeah, that's true. They're gonna have on some lime green.
Yeah,
something crazy.
They gonna go wild with the gloves.
They always go wild, bro. And so yeah, I like that last year. I know some people aren't really messing with it. But Deon, what do you think about the new H though? Because that's a new logo that they just dropped this time around. And so what do you think about it?
I think it's gonna grow on me. Right now it's like, but I think as I see it more and more, it's gonna be one of those things like, okay, I see y'all did y'all big thing on that one. Y'all did your big one. So yeah, I think it's gonna grow on me. But right now it's just like, okay, it's cool. But I like it.
Yeah, I mess with it. I mess with it a little bit. Yeah, I do think they tried to do something real H-Town, and they did a bunch of interviews. They brought in a bunch of fans to give their feedback about when they were creating this jersey. And so a lot of fans said they wanted to incorporate some more just H-Town feel to the jerseys. And I think that was their way of trying to do it, is by making it feel like, okay, the H is Houston, and so let's make it a staple on our helmets to then commemorate what the fans are saying they want to see more. And so respect for the Texans for even listening to fans, for bringing them into the facilities and doing a bunch of seminars and reviews and a bunch of meetings about what the fans want, because a lot of franchises don't do that. And so I just peeped the Denver Broncos New Jerseys. Those look god awful. So they must have talked to nobody. They may have talked to Russell Wilson. I know he's gone, but it's like they must have talked to him before he left. Like, hey, what do you want, Russell? Like, you seem like you know fashion. And then they traded him away. But yeah, I don't know. The Denver Broncos jerseys look bad. But I did like Detroit. I don't know if you got a chance to see Detroit's new jerseys, the all black ones. Oh man.
But I think for these jerseys, I think this is kind of a sign for them. Like they're really, I mean, of course the moves in the offseason, but I think them listening to the fans, I think this kind of does solidify like, yo, we're really going all in for this season. You know,
that's a great point, D.
I think, like you say, getting the fan interaction, making the moves that they made in this offseason. The draft is coming up soon, so we'll see even more how much they get in their bag. But I think that's really the sign, like, yo, they think that they're ready to make that leap. And for anybody, I think this is like, yo, this is if you want to join the bandwagon to be H-Town, like this is the season that you probably want to get your jerseys, get be an Instagram baddie, try to go to a game. Like this is the one.
Hey man, chill out. Don't tell Drea that. She gonna get another Houston athlete. Locked up, don't let me out. Yeah, bro.
From the court to the field.
From the court to the field, bro. She getting that paper, bro. But yeah, dude, I totally agree. This is the time, right? They're trying to distance themselves from the Deshaun Watson situation. Mm-hmm. They're trying to have everyone forget what just happened a couple years ago. We have a new starting QB franchise quarterback in CJ Stroud. We got a new coach that is going to be a terrific coach for years to come. That is a staple in this franchise. So why not just go all in and make a whole new branding with this new regime? Perfect timing. And I just think it's a great way to kind of move on from what just happened a couple years ago. They already did it on the field. Now they're doing it with their organizational things like the jerseys, like the logos. And so props to the Texans for not only distancing themselves from the past, but also taking that leap of faith in a guy like DeMeco Ryans, in a black quarterback like CJ Stroud, and saying, hey, here are the keys to the franchise. This is yours now, and we're going to be backing you and supporting you all the way into wherever you take us. And the hope is this regime can get it to the Super Bowl for the first time. Heck, the Texans haven't even made an AFC championship since I've been alive, since this franchise has been established. And so can they at least get the AFC championship game? That's the first step I feel like they need to be searching for. And then, of course, the Super Bowl. But like you said, with all the moves they made this offseason, bro, they're trying to make a run. And they still got draft picks to make. They don't have big holes other than probably the defensive tackle position. But, man, I'm excited for the Texans this year because they got a lot of things cooking. And we also got a lot of things cooking on this pod, though, because we're not done talking about NFL. Next up on the Mose Knows podcast, we're bringing him back on for the second time. The boy spun the block. Right? Dallas Cowboys reporter Nick Harris is in the building. We're going to be talking to him about, of course, the draft that's happening in a couple of days and what we can expect the Cowboys to be looking out for when it comes to their first round pick. Well, we promised it, and now he's here. Dallas Cowboys reporter Nick Harris is in the building, fresh off the press conference between Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and head coach Mike McCarthy. Initial thoughts, mind you guys, he just got out of the room. And so, Nick, what did you learn? What did you hear in just a couple minutes ago?
Yeah, just got out of the press conference, and I'm kind of throwing down some canes right now too. But initial thoughts, man, gosh, they talked for an hour. So, and Jerry, man, when he gets to talking, he can talk. So a lot of words in my brain, but I think the things that stand out specifically, asked a lot about these three contracts that they need to get done as far as extensions go with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons. Just trying to understand why those deals haven't had a lot of movement this offseason. And Dak Prescott talked about it last week, and he was saying that, real talks, quote unquote, haven't really begun yet, but that him and Jerry have had conversations, and there's no gray area. They know where both sides stand on it. And then you look at CeeDee Lamb holding out of voluntary workouts. Granted, they are voluntary, but it seems though as that's going to be kind of the case until he gets a new contract whenever those workouts do become mandatory. So just trying to understand why those deals haven't been done yet. And he was able to offer a little bit of clarity from his stance, saying that those things take time, working towards getting those done with their representatives. He said, who in the world would not think that we're not working on this? We've been working on it. We're trying to continue working on it. So maybe a little bit of gamesmanship there, but who knows? Nevertheless, post June 1, they're going to have some more cap flexibility with the releasings of Michael Gallup and Leighton Vander Esch. Now, do they work those post June 1 savings for these contracts coming up, or do they go towards this free agent pool and try to add towards what the team has now, or will have in a week whenever the draft is done? I think that's probably the biggest question, and maybe they have a little bit more flexibility closer to training camp to get these deals done. But that's probably one of the bigger things that came away from the draft. From the draft specifically, I was able to ask him, how do they feel about trading off of pick 24? They're missing a 4th-round pick. They're missing a 5th-round pick, but they were able to pick up a 5th-round compensatory pick. But as it sits right now, they pick at number 87 in the 3rd round, and then they watch 87 picks go by before they pick in the 5th round. So there's a lot of gap in between there, and they've been able to find value in that 4th round in the past. Tony Pollard was a 4th-round pick. Dak Prescott was a 4th-round pick. Tyler Biadasz was a 4th-round pick. So being able to find a guy early on day 3, it's been really helpful for this team. Jake Ferguson is another one. So do they feel like they can trade off of number 24 and pick up some of those middle round picks? He said that it's very likely that there will be an opportunity for them to be able to trade back and pick up some middle round picks. He said, obviously, we'd love to have those middle rounds. That's where we feel like we can make some money. So we'll see what happens when that comes around. I think you look at the teams that are behind the Cowboys in the 1st round. You have Buffalo and Kansas City that are both probably looking to take a receiver there in the 1st round. And if a guy like Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Worthy, maybe an Adonai Mitchell, if those guys are starting to fall into the 20s, maybe one of them get aggressive and go ahead and jump up to 24 and take their guy. So that could help the Cowboys in picking up a 3rd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, or both, and be able to add some extra capital to fill these teams' needs.
Man, there's so much there. There's so much there, Nick, that we got to break down. And this is why we have him on, folks. Nick knows what the hell he's talking about. You know what I'm saying?
This guy's good.
You know what he's doing.
Good.
Yeah. So let's first start off with Dak, right? The man of the hour, of course, because a couple of days ago I saw you were at that the gala event when it talked about Dak's contract, and he kind of spoke out about how he's not asking to be the highest paid quarterback. Necessarily. I like how he threw that in there. Necessarily, I'm not trying to be the highest paid quarterback. What he means by that, I have no idea. But that is a topic of conversation right now because that's why they couldn't make any moves in free agency, supposedly, because they're trying to figure out Dak's contract. And then you got CeeDee Lamb waiting in the wings, trying to figure out that as well. So you make a good point, though, because after June 1st, then you have a little bit of wiggle room, but this team isn't complete. It's nowhere near complete. It has holes all over the place. So do you spend that money in free agency to fix those holes, or do you pay your guy with that money? And so I think that's a great question to ask. And so in your opinion, where do you think they're kind of leaning towards, or do you think there is going to be a deal done before the season starts, or is it kind of a 1-year deal? It feels like right now with Dak, like how it is with Mike McCarthy, when it comes to what can they get accomplished this season, then we'll talk about contracts.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who are on that last year of their deal right now, and a lot of guys that are on 1-year deals. I mean, it feels like the theme of the team right now. Mm-hmm. I think if you ask me specifically what my hunch feeling is right now, and it's not a confident hunch feeling, let me say that right off. But I think a deal gets done at training camp. I think whenever those two sides can come together in Oxnard on that campus, typically things happen in those weeks to where contract negotiations happen. Last year was Trayvon Diggs getting his extension. It was Malik Hooker getting his extension. Towards the back end of it, it was Terrence Steele getting his extension. So if they're looking at these 3 guys, I think there's an opportunity to be able to talk to those guys while they are in Oxnard. But you also have to play into the fact that CD might not be in Oxnard. He might not go if he doesn't have a contract by then. And you have to be able to factor that in too. I think with Dak Prescott, I think there's an overwhelming consensus in this building that they want Dak Prescott to be the long-term quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think there's a question about that. The question comes, how much and when does that how much get done? And they've let him play under the final year of his contract before. If you think back to 2020, they let him play through that final season under a franchise tag, and he got hurt early in the season, broke his ankle, and they were still able to get him his deal. Now, what do they do in this sense now? And now that there's a lot of ambiguity. How do you say that? Ambiguity around the entire.
We do.
Come on, guys, you're reporters. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I know.
You should know this.
It's not like we're at our job.
I know what the word means.
There's a lot of ambiguous things going around this entire team whenever you factor in all the teams that are on, or all the players that are on the final year of their deal. How do you factor that in? And I think that's where you start to get some of the questions, and Dak getting a little snippy as well, because you go back to early March, he was like, yeah, I'm confident a deal is going to get done. We'll get it done, no worries. And now it's last week. I don't fear being here or not being here. If I'm not here after the year, we'll go from there and I'll be just fine. So it's a little bit of different tone, and we'll kind of see how that plays out. My hunch feeling is that a deal gets done at training camp, but it would not surprise me whatsoever if they are playing week 1 and Dak Prescott does not have an extension yet.
Yeah, great stuff there, Nick. And the other thing I wanted to talk about that you mentioned, possibility of them moving back. I haven't really seen that a lot in mock drafts, but when you say it out loud, and since you asked Jerry in general about what are your thoughts on that, and he said, yeah, it's a possibility, it makes a lot of sense because they have a lot of holes, and if they're not planning on using that extra cap space from the cuts of Leighton Vander Esch, my apologies, and Michael Gallup, then you would have to use draft picks to fill those needs. And so moving back makes a lot of sense because I think the biggest need is offensive line when it comes to the Cowboys, and there's a deep offensive line class. So you can get a guy in the second round. You can get a guy in the third round if you're able to stockpile picks. And the guys that are trying to move up in the draft, Kansas City and Buffalo, they hate each other. So they're trying to jump each other. And of course, when you start having a bidding war between rivals, the compensation gets a little bit higher as well. And so I think that makes a lot of sense, especially for the Chiefs trying to move up over over Buffalo, because they know Buffalo needs a receiver. And so if you want to beat the guys that you continue to beat them in the draft. And that's what they've been doing over the past couple of years. And they can do that by moving up with the Cowboys. I like that aspect. I didn't know that. And so let me throw something out to you randomly before Deon gets a question is, we're talking about drafts and trades in the draft.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? And Deon, you're going to like this because you hate this guy. Dameon Pierce. Texas. Why are you laughing? You already laughing.
Oh man, get your question now. Get your question now.
Dameon Pierce. Situation in Houston right now.
Yeah.
As you know, they traded for Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's the guy. Dameon Pierce didn't have a good season last year, as Deon knows, because he had him on his fantasy team. What if the Texans offered?
Related.
What if they offered a 5th-round pick to the Cowboys? Would you accept that? Do you think the organization would be interested in something like that, knowing, hey, look, his rookie year, he had a really good season, almost 1,000-yard rusher. Would he be the best running back on that roster? I would think so. If you were to join the Cowboys at the time, then you don't have to spend a draft pick on a running back. What are your thoughts on that?
So you're saying the Cowboys giving up a 5th-round pick to go get Dameon Pierce?
Yes.
In any other year, maybe that makes a little bit of sense.
Okay.
A couple of things you have to factor in with that is, up until last year, the Cowboys were not super aggressive as far as trades and going and sacrificing draft capital to go pick up guys. Now, that strategy was different last year whenever they went and traded for Stephon Gilmore and went and traded for Brandon Cooks. So they have rapport with Houston fairly recently. When they went and traded for Jonathan Hankins with Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
But talking about this year specifically, when you look at the lack of picks, and if you take away 174, then you're not picking from 87 until I believe 222.
Yeah.
So
assuming you don't make that trade in the first round.
Exactly. Assuming you don't make that trade in the first round. Granted, you do get a guy in Dameon Pierce, but I think with the Cowboys and currently where they are at, they want to bring in a young guy that they don't have to pay until 4 years out. And I think, especially at the running back position, a little bit of tread on Dameon Pierce's tires, just based off the sense that he's been in the league a couple of years now. I think they want to bring in a rookie that has a lot of tread left on his tires, a lot of mileage, a guy like Jonathan Brooks, a guy like maybe a Trey Benson that can play 4 years before they have to start worrying about a contract situation. Because, man, once they get these 3 guys figured out, Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, then we start talking about Deron Bland, Tyler Smith, and all these other guys that are coming around the corner too. Those aren't going to be cheap either. So there's a lot of contracts that they're going to have to figure out.
Deron Bland just broke the record.
Yeah, I think throwing a Dameon Pierce in that situation would just make it more difficult. But I mean, the Cowboys they've done some wild things before too.
And that actually goes perfect into my question, because you said the Cowboys and the Texans are very familiar. I mean, I don't know about y'all's timeline, but I've been seeing a lot of Micah and CJ Stroud together, and I was wondering if that could maybe be any concerns, because it seems like they're besties. I see Micah doing quarterback drills with CJ. I mean, they seem like they're getting really buddy. I mean, do you think maybe there could be a concern there that, hey, if maybe some of these guys ahead of me don't get their contract together, and you know the Cowboys do what the Cowboys do every season, maybe I got some new jerseys that I could like to be in that just dropped today.
Hey man, those new jerseys are awesome. That new helmet, Oh my god, that's crazy. But I think there's always a thought about that as long as the deal is not done. If there's an extension that's not done, and you would have to think that they have to make Micah Parsons the highest paid defensive player in NFL history. You would have to think just based on what he's produced. Granted, I think there might be a little bit more leverage that the Cowboys would have whenever you look at Micah's late season production. You should go back and look at the last 6-7 games of the season and each of his first 3 years in the league. A significant drop-off as far as production goes from those first 11, 12, 13 games. So it's, hey, we need you to be a little bit more durable. We need you to be ready for the playoffs whenever they come around. And then we can start talking about highest paid defensive player in NFL history. That's why I think Micah gets done next offseason. I don't think he gets done this offseason. But talking about his friendships around the league, Micah's a different dude. And I think anybody in this building would tell you that. His offseason program is away from the building. It has been the last 2 years.
He was working out in Austin last offseason.
Yeah, and he'll be in Austin a little bit more this offseason as well. It's part of his regimen. He goes up to Pennsylvania. He does a lot of work in New Orleans too, with some really holistic styles of training. And there's a little bit of training that he does in New Orleans where this trainer, and I'm kind of go off on a tangent a little bit, but this trainer in New Orleans went and studied how indigenous people in Africa move and how they conduct business on a day-to-day basis, because they are so flexible. And it's going down to these villages and seeing how these people can be able to conduct daily life based on how they move and what they do. And so it's basically just understanding how people move. And then he went and studied greats like Michael Jordan, athletic greats like Michael Jordan or a Tiger Woods, and understand how are you able to be so durable, LeBron James as well. And then he started this entire movement around movement and how you move your body, how you can be flexible, and how you can use that towards leverage and power. Micah Parsons is one of many people that go down there and train with him every offseason. There's a lot of others. Justin Jefferson goes down there. There's a couple of other guys as well. But that's just one aspect of many aspects of his training that he puts together over the offseason. So, yeah, he runs into guys like C.J. Stroud or a Justin Jefferson or Saquon Barkley. He's really tight with, former Penn State teammate. So it's there's a lot of guys around the league that I think would consider Micah Parsons friends. And if anyone ever thought that Micah Parsons might be looking elsewhere, yeah, he's going to get a phone call for sure from one of those teammates, from a C.J. Stroud or something like that. But I don't think there's a level of concern the Cowboys should have with that until probably, if we're looking at training camp next year and there's not a deal yet, then maybe we start talking about his friendships a little bit more. But I think as of right now, it's focused on 2024. He's focused on how he can be better. I don't think he's looking around right now.
Thank you, Nick. That's crazy insight.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like going down to New Orleans for all that. I didn't know he did that. And so it makes sense though, especially with his celebration now, the whole like crawling out. Yeah. That makes sense. Like why he's doing that. But thank you for that, Nick. The other thing I just wanted to talk about was just on that same atmosphere when it comes to these contracts. What is the roster going to look like after, let's say you do get Dak done. Let's say you get CeeDee Lamb done, who's probably going to be the second highest paid receiver behind Justin Jefferson, I feel like, once Jefferson gets his deal done, because don't forget, CD had a record-breaking year as well last year. Then you got to pay the highest paid defensive player of all time after that. Who's going to be available to fit the cap space, and what type of players are we talking about? I think that's what I'm worried about the most when it comes to the Cowboys. If you get all these deals
I wonder
done,
what all-in looks like
money do you
during
have
that
left?
time.
Yeah, I think all in looks like whatever you do this week in the drafts. I think that's probably your only concession in that sense. There's not going to be an opportunity to go sign a big free agent. That's just not going to happen, whether they get deals done or not. They have a salary cap guy who has told them, hey, this is our situation. We can't move off this. And so whether they get these deals done or not, they are still going to be in the same exact situation, I think, whenever it comes to what they can acquire in free agency. That's why this draft becomes so much more important. And you need to be able to fill needs with these picks, which is why there may even be a more intrigue to trade back and acquire more picks, just so you have a little bit more opportunity to do that. They've done really well in the undrafted free agent pool, too. You look at Terrence Steele. He was an undrafted free agent. You could go all the way back to Tony Romo. He is an undrafted free agent. Just this past season, TJ Bass, arguably the best rookie in their class last year, was an undrafted free agent. So they're going to be able to acquire some guys and put some guys in places. But they are relying on a lot of young talent to be able to not only come in, but also develop with the guys that they have now here to be able to push forward and be kind of the fills to those holes that the team is needing.
And on that note, Nick, what are some guys that you feel like the Cowboys should be targeting in the draft, and even Cowboys fans can be looking out for to hear their names called to be wearing a Cowboys jersey next season?
This is just my personal prediction in the first round. If one of these three guys are not on the board, I think they trade back. Okay. Graham Barton, center out of Duke. Troy Fautanu, tackle guard out of Washington, who unfortunately Texas fans might be familiar with, and then J.C. Latham, tackle out of Alabama, who could also play some guard as well. I think if those three guys are off the board, I think the Cowboys get on the phone and they start working to see how they can trade back. And my idea, I think there's probably only about a 30 to 40% chance that one of those three guys is on the board, and it's probably Graham Barton. Then moving past that, you get offensive line in the first round, whether that's 24, 30, or 32. Moving past that, you go get that running back on day 2, whether it's a Jonathan Brooks, a Trey Benson, something like that. And then you need guys down the middle of that defense, defensive tackle, linebacker. You're going to have to be able to figure out both of those positions with the picks that you have.
Thoughts on, let's say T. Sweat's there at 2. Do you not take the running back there? And I'm a big fan of Blake Corum and Braylon Allen. I think those are 2 running backs that you can get maybe in the 3rd round that people aren't really talking about as much. Braylon Allen was seen working out in Cowboys shorts the other day in one of his videos. I know that means nothing, but it's still cool to kind of speculate. It's cool to kind of speculate, like, oh, he's working out in Cowboy shorts. He wants to be a Cowboy. But I like Braylon Allen. I think he's a hard runner, and he went to Wisconsin, who produces productive running backs in the NFL. And so thoughts on maybe a T. Sweat who may be falling because of the DWI situation. And so your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think T. Sweat's an interesting one because this was from intel that I had heard outside of this building before the DUI, was that there may have been a couple of questions or a couple of concerns about his work ethic. And I think a lot of those questions were not necessarily answered, but they were absolved after last season and what he was able to do, not only in keeping his weight in check, but also what he was able to do on the field. I mean, he was incredible. But some of those questions still linger. I mean, they have to. You can't solve every concern that you have in one season. And then I think with the DUI, I think that kind of reminded everybody of why they had that notion in the back of their brain. So I worry for T. Sweat that maybe he's still available when day 2 is over. And if that's the case, then a team's going to get a really good value on a really good player. But can he come into the building and give that work ethic that he showed last year without the people that were around him last season to be able to make sure he could do that? Because it kind of took a village with T. Sweat, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, there's guys that's happened with before. Michael Parsons is a great example. It took a village to get him out of Penn State and into the NFL, and now he's able to kind of produce on the level that he is. But with T'Vondre Sweat, he's going to have to be able to put some really good people around him to be able to make sure that he can not only contribute on the field as an NFL player, but off the field as well. And I think if the Cowboys are confident that they could do that, then it wouldn't surprise me if they take a swing on him in the 3rd round at pick 87. I mean, they have Paxton Anderson that's now in the scouting department. He knows T'Vondre Sweat quite well, and he's provided a lot of context on a lot of these Texas guys. And I think there could be an opportunity there in round 3 if Sweat's sitting there. Jerry Jones might make a call.
To me, it makes a lot of sense, especially if he slips. Getting the Outland Trophy winner in the 4th round.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we talking about here? And like that's a steal. That's literally the definition of a steal. And so you just said something though, Paxton Anderson. Tell people relationship with Jerry Jones. What is that relationship, and why is he important to this whole cog of machine? I guess you could say.
Yeah, Paxton Anderson is the grandson of Jerry Jones through his only daughter Charlotte Jones, who married. And
that boy Jerry gonna keep it in the family, ain't it?
Oh yeah, he's got a lot of grandkids around here. You almost have to be careful. When you're walking around the building, you'll be talking to somebody that you don't know is a grandkid. You're like, damn, all right,
damn, that boy Jerry.
That Jerry guy, huh? What do you think about that Jerry guy? Well, that's actually my grandfather. So
it's an empire out here. It's an empire out here. But it was kind of funny. Quick little story. Paxton's first day was, I want to say like late January, whenever, because he had just graduated from Texas. He was a walk-on at Texas and was in that program for the last 4 years. And his first day at work was late January or whatever. And we're like sitting around the cafeteria, and I noticed Paxton, like I see him, and he's just got his box of food, and he's looking around like, where do I sit? And I'm just like, you could be Jerry Jones' grandson, but you still have your first day woes just like everybody else. So,
still a normal guy.
My first day, but nevertheless, they've thrown him into the scouting department. more so to just kind of listen and to understand what's going on in that room. I mean, Jerry Jones did it with his son, Stephen Jones. He's done it with his son, Jerry Jones Jr., and he's done it with his daughter, Charlotte Jones, integrated them into the business in some way, shape, or form. And that's kind of the plan for the grandkids as well. You got Shibo Anderson, who is also in the scouting department, Paxton Anderson, who's also kind of getting groomed in the scouting department. And then John Stephen Jones, if y'all remember him, the quarterback from Highland Park a few years ago, went off to Arkansas. And now he's kind of being put forth under the Stephen Jones umbrella. So who knows, maybe 30, 40 years from now, we come back to this conversation. We'll be like, I remember when all these guys were just interns and just getting involved in the scouting department. And now they're GMs and owners. So we'll just kind of see how that evolves as time goes on. But it's a fascinating lineage. It really is.
So reading between the lines, if you were thinking Jerry and then the Jones family was going to be gone, he plugged them in. They're going to be there forever.
They'll be there for a while.
They're going to be there for a long while. But
I mean, the Bus family is doing the same thing up there in LA. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. You got to keep it in the family, especially when you have a franchise that's literally the most profitable franchise in the whole world.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it in the family too.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, make sure nothing gets messed up here.
But I think my biggest thing with everything you said, Nick, is that for any of these prospects, I would actually kind of want to go to Dallas because you know that they don't got money, so they're not gonna be looking for nobody, no free agents, no time soon. And no matter all the playoff woes, I mean, they're producing guys that are, you got Dak that's MVP caliber. You got Deron Bland that had a career year. CeeDee Lamb had a career year. You know, you can have the opportunity on a big stage with the Cowboys. So if I'm one of these prospects and I possibly could go to Dallas, I mean, it's kind of enticing, you know?
Yeah.
I think that helps the undrafted part of things, right,
Exactly.
Nick? Like you were mentioning. I mean, if I'm an undrafted free agent,
that was something we just talked about with Stephen Jones walking out of the press conference. We kind of caught him for a couple more questions, and it was that exact topic was undrafted guys. Do you feel like there's more of an advantage that the Cowboys have just by being the Cowboys? And he was like, not necessarily, but last year and this year specifically, there's more of an opportunity for them to come in and contribute and potentially make a 53-man roster. And that helps, obviously, that the Cowboy brand is around it. But the fact that you look at every position on the team other than quarterback and maybe tight end and safety, you can go look at an undrafted free agent and be like, hey, man, you can come compete for a spot. And I think that's intriguing for anybody.
Yeah, heck, bro. If I'm a running back, I'll battle somebody. Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, and whoever they draft. Yeah, I'll go in there and compete for sure. And any offensive lineman as well. And the last thing I just wanted to mention, Nick, and to get your thoughts on, Jerry's been active elsewhere down there in Fayetteville. He's been saying things like, I don't get hand cramps when I'm signing checks. But it seemed like you're doing it for Dak, though. So I don't understand how that all plays a factor. But what is the talk, or is there any talk about how he's contributing so much to the Arkansas NIL money and not contributing to his own franchise when it comes to the Cowboys?
Yeah, it's a very fascinating conversation. And I think he would tell you that the difference is the salary cap in Dallas, which, there are salary cap believers and there are salary cap unbelievers around in this world. It depends on who you ask. Jerry Jones is a salary cap believer, or at least that's what he communicates. And so he said today, if it were up to him, like Dak would be signed. And if they had the cap room, he would be signed. It would be a done deal. But it's figuring out how to make that work around it. Now, the Arkansas point is very interesting because that's something I want to ask him at some point this week. And, the timing's got to be right because there's a draft class going on and it would probably have to be outside of the press conference room. But it's like, how involved were you with this Calipari situation? And why did you want to be involved as involved as you were or as you are with this entire situation? And, how does that kind of play into the business you do here? And I'm curious to know that answer because it's a fascinating development. It's like him and then Tyson Chicken is the biggest reason that John Calipari is at the University of Arkansas right now and that they're getting all of these recruits. And I believe I could be wrong here, but Jerry Jones said that anyone that's committed to Kentucky, he said he'll pay double to bring them to Arkansas. So it's like, what is exactly going on there and how much communication is being had at Arkansas? I think it's a fascinating point that he would talk about for sure.
Yeah, just be open about it too. I'm spending bread over there in Arkansas, just so y'all know. I'm emptying my bank account so that Arkansas could be on the map.
Y'all may think I'm broke, but I got it. It's just not going to the Cowboys right now.
Think about your favorite college basketball team, right? And imagine if you had the money to be able to just be like, you know what? I'm going to buy my college basketball team a good roster, and then I'm going to have fun watching them next year. They're going to get a ring, and it's because I'm going to pay for it. Like that's so wild. It's such a weird.
It's a flex, though. It's a flex.
It's a crazy
for
flex.
sure.
Imagine you're just sitting there on a Saturday morning and be like, that point guard, I'm the reason he's there, right?
Yeah, I just gave him $3 million.
Yeah.
Welcome to Fayetteville, buddy. I know there's nothing to do here, but at least you're getting paid.
Enjoy this scat.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, facts. Well, Nick, thank you so much for hopping on, man. I can't wait to see what the Cowboys do. And I can't wait to see all your recaps and all your stories that you write and post about when it comes to these draftees when they get to Dallas. And so for people to find those articles, where can they go to find it?
Yeah, DallasCowboys.com. We're going to have a lot of draft content this week. We also got a draft guide that if you go on the site and buy right now for $10, it'll be on your doorstep by draft night. You'll be the smartest guy in the room. So go ahead and look at that. And then on my Twitter, Nick Harris DC, I'll be throwing out some nuggets here and there as well.
Y'all do that for fantasy
can't wait
too?
to see it.
Say that
Y'all
again.
do that for fantasy football too?
Man, I wish. I brought up that idea last year, and they were like, "Who cares about fantasy?" And I was like, "Damn."
If only they knew.
I was like, "It might just."
If only they knew.
Literally everybody cares about fantasy.
We'll see though.
Facts. Well, thank you, Nick. And Texas fans, I'm sorry if you listen to Nick in this interview, Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell is not going to Dallas. My apologies. And all the talks about Texas wide receivers going to it's not looking too good for that whole conspiracy theory. So, well, maybe next year. We'll see. But thank you, Nick, so much for hopping on and get some sleep. I know you've been grinding, so got to remind you to get some sleep.
I appreciate it.
Nick just knows his stuff. Like, it's so crazy how he's in the know, and that's why he comes on the Mose Knows podcast. You feel me, Deon? What'd you like from the interview?
I mean, what's there not to like, bro? I mean, he knows everything. I mean, he's talked to everybody. Like, how does Nick get this information about the trainer going to Africa? Like, come on, man. What? You can only get that type of information from Nick. So yeah, that's interesting.
Boys in the streets, man.
It's wild to think that the Jones family is integrated everywhere. So like I say, they're not leaving anytime soon. So, if you're thinking like, oh yeah, Jerry he only got a couple years left. Maybe they'll sell the team. Nah, that don't look like the road that's ahead of y'all. But what you thinking, bro? What was your favorite part?
I honestly haven't really heard the talks of Cowboys trading back, but that makes so much sense though, because they have so many holes in their roster that this draft class and the holes that they have is deep in, like offensive line. A ton of talent when it comes to this class specifically. And so why not trade back and stockpile draft picks? So instead of getting a guy in the first round, you maybe get 2 or 3 guys within the second to fourth round, because the quality of linemen in this draft, and of course, the quality of running backs that are supposed to be later in the draft as well. Like we mentioned in the interview, Braylon Allen, Blake Corum, those are some guys that are looking like 3rd or 4th round. I would take those guys if I was the Cowboys. Of course, Jonathan Brooks is the belle of the ball in that 2nd round. But if you don't get Jonathan, there's some other options as well. So that's what I liked about hearing that side of things, and to hear that Jerry and Steven were outspoken in the press conference about, yeah, that is a possibility of us trading back. I think that says a lot about that draft room. And don't be surprised if the Cowboys don't have a first round pick or trades with, like Nick mentioned, Kansas City or Buffalo. All right, Deon, great interview, of course. Now let's move on to our final thoughts. Great podcast, I guess I should say. Yeah, thank you, Eric, for hopping on. Nick Harris, man, you're awesome as always. You just know so much, Nick. It's crazy how informative he is about the Dallas Cowboys.
Straight out the press conference.
Straight out the presser, right, dude?
Straight
you don't get that nowhere else, folks. Mose Knows pod, bro. We got you. We know people. We know the people that you need to know. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, dude. Final thoughts on the pod.
Final thoughts. I guess for me, I don't know if you've been getting on your feeds, but I don't know if I'm just getting older, but have you been seeing those sports edits with the Over My Dead Body?
Oh yeah, bro.
Drake.
Yeah, bro.
Bro, it be making me. I mean, I don't know. I be feeling like I'm finna tear up. I'm like, dang, bro. They did one where like they show young Steph, old Steph, young LeBron, old LeBron, young KD, old KD, AD. I was just like, dang, Westbrook, Harden, Kawhi,
Did you see
PG.
the commercial that they dropped? I thought
Yeah,
that was done
yeah, that was
flawlessly.
Whoever edited that, I know he put some time in.
Yeah, props to the NBA and ESPN for making that.
He put some time. They put some time into that because
Yeah,
you got to get old footage, new footage. I mean, you got KG putting his arm around somebody, like, and it looks flawless. It looks.
Yeah.
If we have kids, we show them the commercial. I'm like, oh, dang, that was dope. So they played together. Like it
Actually,
looked.
no.
Yeah.
Actually, they're 3 decades apart.
Yeah. Like
Hey,
that was
good. It looked good.
Yeah, that was fire. But I don't know if it's just me, bro. I don't know if we're just getting older, but man, that I was almost shed a tear. Like, bro, it's almost over. It's almost over for our GOATs. You know what I mean? We got another 3, maybe 4 for some of these guys, and it's we're moving on to the new crop. The Anthony Edwards, shout out to him. Deshae, shout out to him as well. Both of them got their at the time of recording, they got him a dub, 1-0 in their series. We're moving on to the next group of guys, so it's just like, dang, it's really coming to an end. So that's been kind of my final thoughts, man. I don't know if we're just getting older, bro, but stuff be hitting sad,
bro.
A little string. I'm like, dang, he's never used to be like this. But what about you?
Yeah, on that topic, I just want to close it out in the sense of I don't know if you've seen Kevin Durant's new commercial for his new shoe, the KD 17s, but Chet Holmgren is the focal piece of that commercial. And so I don't know if it's just like they mess with each other or what, but I've seen a lot of chatter on social media about KD making a little homecoming type thing. And he's been showing a lot of love to OKC lately. What if, D, I know you're a KD fan, like what if he makes that homecoming to Oklahoma City and brings them a chip? Would that kind of settle things for all KD fans and stop calling him a snake, stop calling him a cupcake? Would that settle things if he goes back to OKC and helps win a chip?
I think for all guys, players that we seen them start out with a certain team, I think we all want to see them go back. Now, a championship, we want to see them go back. Their last game, retire there, but a championship, that would probably be up there with the LeBron Akron one, in my opinion. Because you was a supersonic. You was there when you first started. You had the illustrious big 3, big 4 with Serge. You had Kendrick Perkins as a center at a point in time, and you went out into the world, try to do it on your own. You got 2. You try to do it with another team. COVID happened. You got another. You try to do it with Phoenix. We'll see maybe if they can find a way. I know, but we can see if they can find a way. But I think it would depend on if you want to take less money, because that's really the big thing with all these guys. They're still great. You know what I mean? So they're still great. So it's like, do you go to the team and say, I'll take a minimum. I'll take a little 3 mil, 5 mil.
Minimum's crazy.
Yeah, no, it sounds nuts. It sounds nuts because Kevin Durant, I think he's still a 29 a game guy, 29, 30 a game guy. So it sounds nuts, but it depends, to join a team like that, you make 3 mil and you got a budding star in every position. I think that would be special. His game is, I think he can still, even if the older he gets, I think he can still give you 25. Even he's in the 17th year, bro. That's
crazy.
That blows my mind to even
think
think
he was
about.
just at Texas, bro. Like I remember him playing at Texas, watching it and stuff like that. And so time has passed so fast. But if anyone's gonna figure it out, it's Sam Presti, like best general manager in the NBA. If he find a way to get KD there, he will find a way. And I mean, he got 10 first-round picks. So whether that's trading 5 of them to Phoenix to get KD. I don't know what KD's contract is looking like. I don't know when he gets out of it, but
I think he's I wouldn't know when he gets out of it. I think he probably got like 2 years. I think this year, maybe next year.
So you'll probably have to trade for him if you want him next year. But there's been chatter. There's definitely been chatter. But my final thoughts though, before we end the pod, it's draft week, bro. Like, I'm so excited to see how many, first off, Texas Longhorns goes in not only the first round, but in the entire draft. it's going to be the first time in a while that you see a numerous amounts of Longhorns get their names called. I mean, because think about it, Deon, like they haven't been very successful in the NFL draft. I mean, just think a couple years ago, there was only 2 or 3 scouts at their pro day. And so now you're talking about 2 to 3 guys getting drafted in the first round. That's sensational. Props to Coach Sarkisian for making this program great again. Actually, I don't like the way I phrased that. Don't like the way I phrased that at
You dang
all.
reporters. You
Oh,
dang reporters.
Man. Oh, man. Fake news. What's up, brother? Like, come on. What am I doing right now? But, yeah, so props to Coach Sarkisian for putting Texas back on the map when it comes to the NFL level. And where does Xavier Worthy go? The fastest man ever in combine history. Just saw a report that the Dolphins are super interested in him. Mike McDaniels was at Texas's pro day to see it with his own eyes. So who knows if he joins Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? Oh my goodness, bro! Fastest team already, but now you're making them even faster. And so
I would be in
cool.
tears.
No,
lining up across that.
That's a cheat code, bro.
I would
At that
be
point,
in
it's a cheat
tears.
code. So yeah, I'm excited for the draft, dude. I can't wait to see what happens, and I'll actually be at Xavier Worthy's draft party. And so excited to talk to him after he gets selected and speak about, man, the moment that he's going to be in the NFL now. So yeah, I'm excited about that draft, bro. And of course, see if Nick was right about all the stuff that he talked about with the Cowboys. Hopefully they're able to get an offensive lineman, and maybe Jonathan Brooks, Texas running back, becomes a Cowboy. It seems like a match made in heaven, but we'll see. But thank you so much, Deon, of course, for being along my side throughout this journey for this episode.
Appreciate you, my brother.
Thank y'all for listening in for another episode of Mose Knows. As always, D.
YERRR.